Hello, welcome back to Your Oven is Gaslighting You. I'm your co-host, Destiny,
Hi, I'm Isabella.
Hi, I'm Marcelia.
and we're joined today with our special guest.
Hi guys, I'm Cameron.
So, Your Oven is Gaslighting You. In many immigrant and multicultural households, the oven isn't just for baking, it's a storage space. It's a drying rack, it's a secret cupboard. You might open it and find pots, pans, trays of dried chilies, rice cookers, Tupperware, or even snacks that you thought you lost forever. Now, to some, that's strange, but to others, that's home. This everyday quirk says a lot about adaptation, resourcefulness, and inherited habits, all core to the immigrant experience. When your family moves between countries, languages, and living conditions, nothing has a single purpose anymore. Everything has a multitask, including the oven. For example, I'm a former foster youth. I'm also Asian Vietnamese American. My stove growing up in my household was mostly just holding your pots and pans and big soup containers. How about you guys?
I would say definitely I would relate to you. I think that my mom definitely used her oven as a storage unit, and as a kid, turning on the oven without checking the oven was a very bad mistake. But I don't know. What about you, Arcelia?
I can relate to that too. We really only used it for like special occasions like Thanksgiving or Christmas, but it was mainly just storage.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, Cameron, can you tell us what is your oven like right now at home?
Well, in my house, it's actually not our oven that we use as a storage, it's our dishwasher. So my grandma, she doesn't believe in, putting the dishes in the dishwasher to wash them. I used to think the dishwasher actually never worked. I never knew it washed dishes, honestly. But she used to use it to, hold her snacks. She'd put everything in the
So yes, you grow up in a house where the oven is full of storage. So when you move out and preheat for the first time, it smells like burnt metal and memory. It's the perfect metaphor for cultural confusion, an appliance that looks one way but works another way, almost like navigating dual identities. So let's talk about how we as Americans, while also having other cultural identities, how we could be navigating two personalities or two dual identities. For example, for me, sometimes I feel that I am not American enough, or sometimes I feel I'm not Asian enough, or when I speak Vietnamese, I wonder if my accent comes out as proficient enough. And how about you guys?
Yeah, I would say having to definitely code switch is a big part of my identity. I would say my family is Argentinian, so we definitely have an accent when talking to each other. So we also have a different lingo. So pastel is cake, but torta is cake for us. So also trying to code switch my Spanish with other Spanish speaking people who don't have the same Spanish as me, and then also learning when to speak English and then speak Spanish with my family. So there's a lot of that.
I also agree. I do a lot of code switching. I think it gets easier as you get older, just because you're more, in touch with who you are, your identity. I think growing up, especially teenage years, maybe even 20s, you're just really concerned about fitting in and I'm not American enough, I'm not Mexican enough. But I feel as you get older, if you're really in touch with your values and your, culture, it just comes easier.
Definitely to add on that, for me, I would say that I'm pretty pocha, meaning that I'm a no sabo kid. So, I don't speak fluent Spanish, so I have a harder time connecting with my grandpa because his comfortable language is Spanish and all he knows is Spanish. So I'm not really close with him, but I am close with him, if that makes sense.
I don't know. I when you guys mentioned code switching, and I feel like I code switch a lot, not in just things, the wording I say, but the groups that I'm with. And especially in school settings, I'm very much like, I feel like I'm type A. But, you know, I guess people who really know me know that I'm not type A. They think I'm more laid back, whatever. But I don't feel laid back, especially in the school setting. And like this, I feel like I have to be on top of my stuff. And I think it's because of the identity that I have associated with school and being Asian and being an Asian American in the college.
I think where I came from, like in Fresno, it was a lot easier to navigate. Like, I had most of my friends out there were all Punjabi. We all shared the same culture and all of that. I think moving here has made it harder for me to navigate. Like, I feel like now it's like new like territory for me. I don't know. I think sometimes it's like you just have to navigate like being, like just feeling like you're like an outsider sometimes. Because my parents are also from England, so like they used to teach me stuff and it would just straight be wrong. Like it'd be like different stuff where it'd be like they don't do that out here. Yeah. So I think like navigating like that was like hard.
Yeah, you guys both bring up really powerful points. One, Araceli, about how age, as you grow up, you have a little more, maybe more confidence in who you are. So you kind of like, well, this is who I am, you like it or not. So like Araceli was saying how, you know, she because she is older, she kind of had to not really care about it. As age goes, you kind of stop caring.
I think I agreed with that a lot because when I was younger, like you have all these people saying like, oh my god, Indians smell like this. I think it used to really get to me and I'd be like, no, like I'm not like that, guys. And I'd try to like be like, no, that's not me. I think now as I've gotten older, I'm just like, it is that where she said like, you just don't care as much. Like people are gonna say what they want to say, or like do what they want to do. I think now it's just like when people say stuff, I'll just be like, haha, you're so funny.
You know, and then you bring up a great topic of, you know, kind of joining in your generation with older generations, because you don't want to lose that. You don't want to become like just how you said no sabo kid. You said it in a way that was you feel a certain type of way about it,
like
right?
Disconnection,
exactly. So how can we build that link between not having to wait until we're old enough to not give a crap about things, and also my grandparents are here right now. I want a connection with them right now. How do I build that connection? What do you guys think?
I think it starts with like the parents, really, like for this younger generation, just really even if just exposing them to different like our traditions, because I feel a lot gets lost, especially like, you know, my kids were born here. I was born here, but my parents are from Mexico. So, you know, bringing back those specific traditions and stuff that we do so that they know, okay, this is part of who I am.
Right.
And just exposing them to that, I think is helpful.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I feel that I do blame my mom for not teaching me Spanish, because, you know, now I'm having a harder time connecting with my family members. I even have family members in Italy who speak Spanish, and that's the only way that we can communicate. But when they were here during the summer, I couldn't communicate with them and to build that connection. So I feel like it does fall on the parents to, you know, teach us, just give us an advantage to, you know, get to know our family.
Araceli, because you are a mother yourself, you know, do your kids speak Spanish? Did you teach your kids Spanish?
So, guilty, I didn't do that.
It's okay.
But, so, and I also feel that, so every parent goes through different things, right? People go through different things. So for like example, with my oldest, he had a speech delay. So me being super young, not knowing what the heck I was doing, I thought to myself, okay, well, I'm not going to confuse him by teaching him two languages. And so I focused on just English, sorry. But as he grew older, and, you know, my parents only speak some English, but mostly Spanish. So, like, he can still communicate with them. But as he got into, like, high school, he's like, no, like, I want to learn. And so he took the initiative to take Spanish classes and everything. And my other two, they understand everything, but they do have that hard, like, ocho kind of thing. They're like more shy to like, you know, speak it, but they do understand.
So you see how we can all struggle with similar dynamics under the same roof. However, so where would you say the disconnect is between Americans and, you know, other cultures that are American, like Indian Americans, Asian Americans, Black Americans?
I think I think as Americans, like everybody here too is very individualistic. Like okay, like everybody kind of does what they want to do. I think like in our cultures, like because also too, like I would say that I'm Asian when I like sign anything or whatever. I think like in the Asian culture and all of that, where it's like I think you don't straight out go say stuff to people, you know, where it's like more like okay, like especially when your elders or like other people are doing stuff, like I feel like silence is more of the thing that you do. Like you don't really say as much as you would maybe want to.
Yeah.
Like I feel like here too, like my grandma always tells me too, like, oh, like it's the Americans, like you guys are too, like she always likes to say like we're whitewashed, like which we are, but she'll be like, yeah, like it's the American culture, like the Western views like getting to you, like you think you can say whatever you want and do whatever you want. Where it's like for them, like it was never like that. Like you only do as you're told.
Yeah. Like similar to appliances, you know, all of our stoves are different. One is a gas stove, one is an electric stove. But what is the same is our core, I guess, inherited habits. So when we inherit things from our parents, from our cultures, we inherit, you know, music identity, food identity, holidays and traditions that we celebrate. So I love that you brought up smell and culture and identity and what we eat. When we talk about cultural identity, we can talk about the things that are similar in us, but also things that are different. So this hints at generational contrast. You know, your parents may have used the oven to preserve things, but you may use it now to create things. I use my oven no longer to store my baking sheets or my pans, but I use it to create beautiful cakes and beautiful memories and food that I get to share with my neighbors. So that difference mirrors the tension behind old world preservation and new world experience. So let's talk about new world expression. And if you had to pass on one cultural tradition to the next generation, what would it be and why?
For me, my family, we're very big on family time. And I'm pretty sure that's in most cultures that you guys like to spend time with your family. But we, as Argentinians, come together and we would come together like once a week. And we do an asado, which is same to an asada, right? Yeah, so we do an asado, which
So
is
like
it's an Argentinian barbecue where my grandpa makes costillas, which is ribs, and then like skirt steak. He'll make chorizo, and we all just sit there and eat as a family, and then drink wine, and just catch up about what happened during the week. So that's one culture thing that I want to do, and I want to pass down to my kids.
So definitely prioritizing family get-togethers.
Definitely.
Doesn't have to be a holiday, doesn't have to be funeral, wedding, none of that.
Just once a week, just get together.
Absolutely love that. So Miss Kimran, what would you pass on to your next generation?
I think cooking for sure. I think my like favorite thing that I had growing up too was like cooking outside with my mom and my grandma. Like those were, I think, when we had like the most bonding moments where they would like I think food is such a big part of culture. Like everybody gathers around, they eat together. Like I feel like food's such a center of everything.
Yeah.
So I think cooking too, like it really just connects you in a different way where you're spending like hours on hours like making like different dishes, and you sit there and you story tell and you do all of these different things. So I think that's like for sure something I would want to do with my kids. And then my grandparents grew up in India, so with them, I think if it weren't for my grandparents, like I think my grandma, like I would say she raised me. Like I don't think I'd be so in touch with my culture. I wouldn't I don't think I would have a lot of that.
So you're saying that you're with the dynamic of your grandparents living with you, you would say that you built a better connection with your elders and even your culture.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
I love that, and I love that that's pretty much what all of us here are talking about today. You bring up a really good point too in storytelling, because I did read somewhere that your grandmother, like she used to have a name. She had her own grandmother. She had her own father, but as years go on, that grandmother loses her name, loses her identity, loses her property, her land, until she becomes just a distant memory or a distant lore, or, oh, be careful for your great-grandmother. She's got, either some type of narrative. So when you talk about story and to create story and how stories are passed down, is there a certain thing that you would want your kids to always remember you as, like the mother that always held her values, or like how would you want to be remembered 20 years from now as the culture that you are currently right now? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think I would say I would want to be remembered like she never gave up. Like, even though, shit happens, life happens.
Yeah,
like
girl, you're in school.
Yeah.
Yes.
And to kind of follow that, because they don't like school right now. But just to know that, I stayed true to my values. And it's okay to incorporate, like, some stuff from other cultures. Like, I don't know, my parents were really strict on me, and I think that's a Mexican thing. So they, never really let me go out. They didn't let me, spend time with my friends, stuff like that. But, I'm letting my kids go out more and, a little bit more. So, not being so strict like they were, but opening up doors for them.
Yeah,
I want them to remember that, okay, she was more lenient. She was willing to incorporate some other part that also affects us because they're now more, American than Mexican.
I get it. I get it.
I like it. I like that you're kind of like recreating that purpose for you.
I love that. Oh, I would say this is I feel like this is a little controversial, but a best friend, someone that they can talk to, or maybe probably pass on like my motherliness towards their kids, their future kids, and I want them to remember me as just a sweet person.
So both your grandparents live with you, and I'm assuming that your parents take care of your grandparents, and eventually when your parents get old, you guys are expected to take care of them. Can you talk a little bit more about that chaos and that resourcefulness and just living and having to reuse, repurpose, reimagine?
I think in our house, so it's my dad's the middle child. His he's the oldest son in the family. So I think the oldest son is always the one to take on okay, you live with he stayed home. Before we used to live separate, and then now we built a house together and we all moved in together because we're okay, they're getting older and all of that. But I think it is hard living in a house with 3 different generations like that, because then you have me and my brother who are seen as okay, we're whitewashed, we're American, we're this. My parents grew up in England, so they had a very different all of that, and then my grandparents grew up in India. So with them, I would say they have more of a backwards mindset. My grandma even now,
old school,
yeah, where she'll be Cameron, you can't wear shorts, you're not allowed to wear shorts, where it's stuff like that where we butt heads on those things where I'm but then I think on the flip side too, with me and my brother, we give my grandparents a different outlook on life, where we'll tell them no guys, times have changed now, we don't have to do that because this and this was happening.
Everyone knows that stereotype that Asian Americans have to get straight A's or whatever. I feel like I made that almost my personality at this point, where it's just kind of funny to me because it feels almost like imposter syndrome, where growing up, I was not involved in my Asian culture as much as I am now. So it's kind of weird to me how I can go from really not giving a crap about my grades to really care. It's kind of feels very weird. It's kind of exhausting sometimes. And a lot of times, actually I want to ask you guys this, is do you guys feel like you're subtitling your own life? Meaning, because you go code switching, you feel exhausted, you constantly have to explain yourself, subtitles underneath. Do you feel like you have to speak that way in school settings or with friends who may not be the same culture as you?
The fitting in part doesn't. Does that make sense? They both Spanish speaking friends and I'm not. So sometimes they'll code switch into talking Spanish and I'm oh yeah, me too. But I don't know what they're saying.
Okay, so you feel left out
Yes.
in that culture that you feel like I am Mexican, but I feel left out when they're speaking Spanish.
Yeah.
And then for you, do you feel, is it the same way or do you feel opposite, in American spaces, or how especially in college too?
Honestly, ever since I could, and I was really thinking about this the other day, ever since I can remember, I've had white friends. Some of my best friends were white. and Mexican, but I just always had like this connection. I don't feel like I have to, you know, kind of be someone that I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
I think they know that I'm very, you know,
Yeah.
Mexican, but also American, I guess.
Yeah.
But I've never felt like, you know, I can't be friends with someone like that, or I have to act a certain way. But again, I feel because I'm older, I don't give a shit. You know, honestly, it gets to a point where it's like you feel like I don't have time to waste my life on trying to impress people and trying to fit in.
Yeah.
I like that.
If they're true friends, then they're gonna.
No,
I went to Valley Center High School.
Valley
I
Center.
don't know if you guys know, but that's out in the middle of nowhere.
It's
Oh,
like
really?
way.
Now it's like more populated because of the casinos. But
Yeah.
it used to be nothing.
Yeah,
dang.
like, yeah.
I went downtown looking for my dress, and as we were walking down, my grandma had called my mom, and my mom answered her in Spanish because that's my grandma's comfortable language, and my mom knows to speak Spanish. And a homeless white guy came up to my mom and told her to go back to her country and spit at her feet. And I'm like 14. I'm watching all of this happen, and my mom was like in complete shock. So I was like, I didn't even know how to handle the situation.
Earlier, I said that when your family moves between countries, you know, you have multiple languages, you have multiple living conditions, and nothing feels like it has a single purpose anymore, and you have to adapt, you have to multitask. So while your oven could be, you know, you're cooking something, it could also be storing something, but I want to talk about in our culture at home and when we bring it to school and how it could be completely two different experiences. I want to talk about the first time you realized your normal lunch was exotic to somebody else. My favorite quote is, "The smell of fish sauce is my childhood and my social anxiety." So while fish sauce is a staple in my childhood, it's also something that people make fun of me for my whole life. The smell, the pungency, but people don't realize that taste, it just hits your taste buds in a different way. So what's something that you guys feel was normal to you at home but exotic anywhere else?
Actually just had an experience like last semester
Oh,
here.
goodness.
Oh my god, let me tell
In a
you. So
college setting.
I was over here at the USU like heating up. My parents only taught me how to make like Indian food. We call it roti, it's like a tortilla basically. And then on the side, it's called, what I had brought that day was sog. It's like a different kind, it's like just a whole bunch of different greens, like kale, broccoli, all of that.
I
mixed
had that and
to-
it's really
yeah.
good. Yeah.
So I had brought that, I'd heated it up in the, it was these two girls and this guy came up to me, and it was during, like, I guess Ramadan was going on, and they came up to me and were like, oh, like, aren't you supposed to be fasting for Ramadan? Like, the sun's still up, blah, blah, blah. And I looked at them, and I was straight up mean about
They
it.
didn't
like,
even say happy Eid or anything.
yeah, I looked at my food, and I was like, guys, like, mind my language. I was like, does it look like I'm fasting right now? Like, are you serious?
Why would they say that?
Yeah, and I like really like that took me off guard because I think too like I was sat there like I'm eating my food with my hands like all of that, but I was just like I was really taken aback by that, and I was like I didn't like I was eating like my cultural food like I guess it was during like the Ramadan, like I'm not Muslim or none of that, but I like that was like a really like eye opening, and I was like wow,
The
like,
caucasity.
yeah, really guys.
And every time I introduce choripan to people, they end up loving it and wanting to come to the rest of our asados. So
Yeah, what is
a choripan. Oh, a choripan is basically Argentine chorizo, and then in a bolillo pan, and then you put the chimichurri on top, and then you eat it like a sandwich or like a hot
that sounds
dog.
good.
So good, bruh. So good. I mean, yeah, I heard.
I think it's also interesting though, like, because you're from LA, you said.
Yeah, I'm from LA.
LA City, LA, you said. In San Diego, like, carne asada was created in San Diego, right? Like what our version of Mexican American food was created in San Diego. So I can understand how there's like, wasn't that much exoticness. But how about, could you say when you're 10 years old back then to however old you are now, with the current administration, with the current things that are populating online, we have more access to social media, we see more media. How has it changed from when you were 15 to 20 years later now?
It's a big change.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
I'm really old, but
No, let's talk about it.
I grew up with no social media.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my first phone was a flip phone, and I think I was 18. it's just really crazy to see where we're at right now.
Yeah.
And I understand that, you know, because sometimes I get mad at my kids, like, why don't you guys want to go to school? Like, you know, back in the day, school was my thing. Like, that was the only way I got to interact with people or whatever. And it's like I have to stop and think, like, okay, they didn't go through what I went through. And so now there's a lot more, like social media, bullying, and all these different things that
are being exposed.
Yeah, and I didn't have to go through that.
Right.
So it's hard. It's definitely changed. I can see how kids are more like, okay, I can't act a certain way. I can't do this. I can't do that because I'm gonna get targeted. Growing up, I didn't feel that way, but I see how it is a big thing right now.
Right. Yeah. I grew up also playing with my neighbors. I lived in a neighborhood. None of my brothers and I had like stayed in until like the iPad came out and stuff like that, or like iPods. Then we started to be like more indoors. But I do remember most of my time being outside, playing football with the boys, going to my best friend's house, playing outside. But after the iPad and the iPods came out, I was inside like 90% of the time.
Are you first generation students?
No.
Okay, so oftentimes when we feel different than our parents or our cousins, we like, let's say that it's normal for your family to not go to school, but you're the one person that wants to go to school, and you feel like now that you're the outcast, that you're the black sheep, that like there's something must be wrong with you for trying to do something different than what your family traditionally does. You know, just similar to an appliance, maybe your oven isn't broken, is just first generation. So our podcast is named Your Oven is Gaslighting You, but we obviously know it's not about just the oven. It's about what gaslighting means. Gaslighting means it's emotional manipulation, and it connects to how people from marginalized or multicultural backgrounds are often told their experiences are not real. And the oven is supposed to represent, you know, the warmth, the home, the heritage. So how can we fix that disconnect between how our family sometimes wants to view us and maybe could possibly our loved ones could possibly gaslight us into behaving a certain way when it's supposed to be our safe space at home? We create our identity and our culture. It starts at home. So I want to talk about the resourcefulness and the chaos that can happen and the coexisting in immigrant homes when we talk about reusing, repurposing, reimagining what life can be outside of the four walls of what you are normalized to. Aricelia, you said that your kids don't necessarily like to go to school, and you're the first generation student going to school in your family, and then now you have kids, so you're going to school to have a better life for you and your kids, and then I'm assuming it could be kind of a slap in the face sometimes to you that when your kids don't want to go to school, when you're like, I'm doing this
so
for
angry.
you, right? So how do you kind of balance that? And like you said earlier, you know, you have to be understanding, but it can get really chaotic when you're trying to coexist in this dynamic. So what would you say?
I just really do it because I love learning, and it's taken me a long time, and it definitely didn't go how I planned it, but I'm here, and I want to take advantage of all the opportunities that I have, and I hope that they see that and they realize, even if it took me, I don't know, 20 years, I'm still here and I'm still doing it, you know, but it has to be something that they love. Right. So, and then another thing that, like, sometimes when I'm like, what am I even doing? Because I feel guilty sometimes, you know, I work full time, have to go back to my kids, have to help them with their work. So it's like, what am I doing? Do I really need to do this? I stop and think of my parents, like all their sacrifices, everything that they did, like I'm gonna do this for them. And you know, they're a big part of my life, so I want to make them proud, and hopefully my kids are able to someday appreciate that and want to follow those things. Right. But like I said, it's just different. We're at different times to where back in the day, I feel like there was a lot more like emphasis on like, okay, we got to go to school, we got to get a degree. And now it's like I have my daughter tell me I can just, you know, be an influencer or whatever.
No. There's a lot
and
of
I'm
that.
like, no, that's not going to happen.
I can just marry rich. I can just do this.
I know. My mom used to be like, okay, yeah, you could do that after you get your degree.
Yeah, want in life.
No, yeah. I feel like my mom also, I'm first generation. She's an immigrant from Argentina, but she went to school. But she, she's very perseverant, and I feel that a lot of, like foreign people who come from different countries are very resilient, and that they do come here to not be lazy and not sit around, but climb up the ladder.
Yeah.
And knowing that my mom, she worked really hard to get to where she is right now, motivates me to, not only like not meet her expectations, but like make her proud of herself as well. Does that make sense? Because she worked so hard for me and my brothers to be here today, and honestly, she's the smartest person I know, and I admire her.
When you guys were talking, it reminded me of, shout out to Carlos Rosas. He's our professor at Cal State San Marcos. When we become famous off of this, we'll remember you. Shout out to you. But it reminded me of the woman at Erica that came in to do that talk.
Yes.
Did you guys want to have any comments about that? Because when you were talking, I was like, you thought back to your parents. I was like, girl, that was literally, like, I thought that was so motivating. And to go back to the strawberry field, I'm getting chills talking about it now. I was like, that is such a good story. And that's how I want all of us to kind of take life, and like, I can make a change.
Definitely.
So what do you guys think?
I thought her presentation was very beautiful. I cried during that. It was so touching, especially coming from, a Latin background as well. I mean, not that I've gone through what she has gone through, but, I've had my trials and tribulations, and my mom's gone through it with me, and honestly, I wouldn't be here without her. So definitely giving my mom my sash, because she low-key earned it too.
Yeah, I actually picked her book to do the book report, and I cried while I was reading the book. During her presentation. I could relate to a lot of what, not everything that she went through, but a lot of the things she did go through. And it's just another, okay, you have no excuse not to do what you want. Yeah. If you have a dream, you can do it. And people go through a lot of things in life, and it shouldn't be just a reason for you not to be able to do something.
I agree.
And I loved her. I wish she would have gone a little bit more in depth on her parents' experience as immigrants, because I feel that that's also something that to many white people, that's not really, they don't take that into consideration. To think that someone can just get up and leave their country,
that's hard.
Risk their life to come over here to provide a better life for their kids, that's just it has to be talked about, and it has to be looked at.
Yeah.
Not that.
All right, everyone. So as you know, our podcast name is...
Your oven is gaslighting you.
Okay, we're all saying together. All right. All right, everyone. As you know, our podcast name is Your Oven is Gaslighting You. But obviously, it's not about the oven. It's about culture. It's about adaptation. It's about families making space where there wasn't any. It's about repurposing what's available, about survival that turned into ritual, our culture, our identity. The oven became a metaphor, the place that holds what we can't fit anywhere else. So maybe that's what identity is too. Storage for everything that we've been told to keep, to hide, or save for later. But when you finally preheat it, when you open the door and decide to use it, you're not just cooking, you're reclaiming something that was always yours. Your identity, your oven, your appliance, something that's in everyone's kitchen, anywhere in the world. And that is very powerful. So if your oven's full of pots and pans instead of pastries, don't worry. You're just living between recipes. You still have time, like Aracelia said, you have time in life to grow and not give a crap about what people say, what Isabella says about how she wants to make her family proud, her mom proud, and for when she does eventually have kids, she's going to take on these values of culture and community for the rest of her life. And And anything else? Any closing statements that you guys would like to share, my friends?
I don't think so. I think this was perfect. I got everything off my chest.
All right. Well, and that's it. You know, my ex was Hispanic. We're gonna cut that out. We'll cut that part out.
I'm dead. We love that.
But yes.